Ow. Okay, note to self, do not try a high-five a ceiling fan. Ugh, some Novocaine right now would be great. Hey, wait, that's right, Novocaine just hit theaters this weekend, and it's got an action dude who can't feel pain. Alrighty, I'll just ice what's ever left of my circuit so we can dive into the plot and break it all down. The story follows Nathan Kane, an assistant bank manager who lives a careful life due to his congenital insensitivity to pain, a condition that prevents him from, well, feeling pain. Nate has the hots for his new coworker, Sherry, and meets her on a date one night at her art gallery. Things go well and their connection grows stronger, but their new romance is cut short when a group of masked robbers all dressed as Santa Claus storm the bank. During the heist, Nate's manager is killed, and Sherry is taken hostage. Good lord, times are tough even for Santa right now? What is the world coming to? Determined to save her, Nate tracks down clues to her whereabouts, starting with a tattoo on one of the robbers that he accidentally killed. He enlists the help of his sole friend Roscoe to call tattoo parlors in the area, hoping to identify the man. Superhero figure phoning in his quirky gamer friend played by Jacob Batalon in a search for info? I've seen this before, Novocaine. I'm on to you. Jokes aside, I really don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that he is literally the exact same character again. But anyway, his investigation leads him to a parlor where he gets into a brutal fight with a shop owner. Despite being a pacifist, Nate is forced to use violence to get the information he needs. His search takes him to the booby-trapped house of one of the robbers, where Nate is captured and tortured for killing the robber's brother. Just in time, Roscoe arrives to rescue him, and together they fight back against the robber. Nate kills him and evades the police onto his next destination. Listen, just thank your lucky stars that you weren't dealing with Kevin McAllister. Ugh. I still have nightmares about his death traps. Upon arrival to their hideout, Nate learns the shocking truth that Sherry was in on the heist and used him to try to get the bank's vault code. Even worse, the mastermind Simon is her brother. Simon knocks Nate unconscious and Sherry turns on her brother, as she still has feelings for Nate. The police finally show up and Simon hijacks an ambulance with Nate inside. In a desperate move, Nate breaks his own thumb to escape handcuffs and uses a defibrillator on Simon to crash the ambulance. Sherry shows up and goes fisticuffs with her brother, and Nate finishes the fight by stabbing Simon through the jaw with Nate's own broken bone. Okay, the sequel to this movie better feature Nate getting put into the Saw franchise, and the Jigsaw Killer has absolutely no idea how to handle him. Nate wakes up in the hospital, only to find out that he's very badly injured and facing multiple criminal charges, but because of his heroic role in the violent events, he's only sentenced to 6 months of house arrest and probation. Meanwhile, Sherry is in prison, but Nate still visits her, despite everything, because he still has feelings for her. 6 months of house arrest? Well, look at the bright side, you'll finally have time to put a small dent in that One Piece anime, which brings us to the end of the story. Before I give my thoughts, I would like to ask you to consider subscribing. As you can see, this is a new channel, and any amount of support will be helpful. More subscribers will translate into higher quality videos, cooler animations, and hopefully some better written jokes. So what did this robot think of the movie? Well, in my opinion, it was fine. The story itself is pretty straightforward. Pretty girl gets captured, guy goes on a mission to find her, moving from set piece to set piece along the way. Guy finally finds her, bad guy dies. Pretty girl and guy live happily ever after, yada yada yada. Nothing too unfamiliar. Unfortunately, that's kind of all it was starting to feel like after a while. Like, yep, it's time for the next location, cue the next fight. Yep, can't feel any pain. Beats the dude up, gets the information. Okay, on to the next location. Rinse and repeat, over and over again. Honestly, if you've seen any of the trailers for this movie, then you've basically seen just about the majority of all that there is to see, it seems. I do have a couple more gripes with pacing and the story, starting with it taking almost a solid 30 minutes for it to actually begin. 30 minutes isn't unheard of, but in this instance, it was starting to drag a little bit before the heist even occurs. Also, towards the end, I thought the movie was ending on like 3 separate occasions, to the point where I was wanting them to wrap this up. Story-wise, the main revelation of Sherry being in on the heist doesn't really have any true impact on the story. Everything plays out the exact same as if she wasn't, minus her serving some jail time in the end. But Nate still tries to save her all the same, and they're still in love by the end, with no real back and forth on how he was betrayed. The police in this movie are unintentionally incompetent, doing nonsensical acts such as letting criminals go out of custody on a whim, letting criminals drive them and those still in custody into dangerous situations, and then proceeding to arm said criminals with their own personal firearms to send them alone into terrorist situations. Like, excuse me? You need to be fired and given jail time of your own, miss. But it's not all doom and gloom. There was still some fun to be had. Where the movie shines is in Jack Quaid's performance as Nathan Kane. His character is quite likable, and watching his pacifist character bumble his way through these gruesome fights was pretty entertaining. While his condition to not feel any pain lessened some of the tension that we would normally feel, it at the very least made for some pretty unique wins and memorable moments, usually followed up with Nate reacting comedically to the ridiculous horror that he had just caused. In short, do I think that Novocaine is a technically sound movie from start to finish? No. But do I believe the audiences will at least be entertained with some unique action and quirky humor for 2 hours? Yes. If that's really all you're seeking, then I'd say go for it. Review protocol has been executed. I'll await your next login.